of where he's ranked, you just know he's going to be there all the time. And that's why I think Ferrer has a great chance to come out of this group in the #1 position.
Got very little to lose, and he played like that was the case against Djokovic on day one, and he held his nerve when it mattered most at the tail end of the second set. And the quality of his shot making took Djokovic by surprise at the beginning of the match. He played a lot more aggressive than many thought he was capable of. Djokovic in search of his 8th career title, and amazingly 5 of the 7 that he's been able to win so far been won this year in Adelaide, Miami, Estoril on the clay, Montreal and Vienna indoors on a hard court, very similar to this one. So he's a man that can play on a lot of different surfaces, because he has done an excellent job not only of winning matches this year but of developing his game.
Yeah, the serve has become a big weapon. I love the way he plays because of his balance. You rarely see him where he's out of position. When he gets to the ball, he's able to do so much with it. But right now for him, my big question is mentally. How strong is he mentally? Because against the world's best, this top 8 format, you've got to be there and you got to believe. And because he's played so well at the beginning of the year, well, that's why he's here. But the last couple weeks, as you talked about, it hasn't been great for him. So he's probably struggling a bit for the balance, finding the right balance, both psychologically and physically out on the tennis court.
Well, he'll learn. He's played a few too many tournaments, I think, this year. This is 22nd appearance throughout the course of the year, and of course he's represented his country in Davis Cup as well, so that takes an awful lot out of you. I think next year we'll hopefully see him playing fewer tournaments, but obviously still having the excellent results. That's what all the best players manage to do after the first couple of years of success: work out what the best schedule is and then try and stick to it.
Yeah, well, when you win as much as he's won, then you have to learn how to pick and choose, and that's part of being strong at the end of the year. That's something that Roger Federer's always been very good at doing.
It's also something that Gasquet's learning as well, because amazingly this is his 24th appearance of the year, and he's had a successful season. He was a winner in Mumbai at the beginning of the year. That was the 5th ATP title of his career, and been a solid performer throughout the year. Runner-up in Tokyo a few weeks ago, semi-finalist in Paris. Remember, when the pressure was on, he handled that extremely well.
That's why he's here. I mean, few guys can do it. We've seen over the last few years how few really can, but he was just sensational. He had that win over Andy Murray. Didn't play particularly well, but found a way to get the job done. He had to win there. He did it. Came in, and we saw how well he played against Rafael Nadal in the opening match. The ranking has gone exactly the way you want to see it go. And he used to have a weak forehand. It's not so weak anymore. And the serve has really started to improve, as we saw in his match against Nadal.
And that's key for him, trying to achieve all that he believes he can, because you can have the best ground strokes in the world, but if you don't serve particularly well against the best players in the world, when you're playing on the slightly quicker surfaces or indoors, you are going to struggle. But Gasquet's worked hard on that area of his game.
Well, I love the way he plays. He's an amazing shot maker. The problem for him is mentally. We know how tough Djokovic is mentally, but mentally for him, can he really be there and believe to close out matches? The match against Nadal, he probably played better, but as it got to those crucial stages, his game failed him a little bit.
Well, there is a little bit of history between these two, but not much. They played twice, once in 2006 in Madrid. Conditions are relatively similar to these. Djokovic won that one in 3 sets, 6-1 in the third. The last time they met was in Estoril in Portugal on clay, and again Djokovic won that one 6-1 in the third.
Interesting thing about both those victories, though, first set, tie breaks. Second set, Gasquet went right through him. And in the third set, obviously we talk about Gasquet's talent, not able to keep the level up as he did in the second set.
Something that he needs to improve, there's no question about that. Nice to see Carlos Bernardes on the chair. He's having a tough whole week as well, long hours for all concerned here, but I'm sure he's thoroughly enjoying the fact that he's been chosen to take part in the year-end championships. It's a reflection on how well he has done throughout the year too. Big match too for Marian Vaida. I'm sure they had a good chat after the opening match in this group. He's done a sensational job, not only this year but in the last couple of years, to develop his charges game. And nice to see Mum and Dad courtside too. They were really animated the other day. did their best to try and raise their son's spirits. How proud they must be, having witnessed all that their son's been able to achieve this year.
Yeah, they're obviously very proud of him, and what you saw from them the other day was they were trying to get him fired up because he's played with so much fire throughout the year, but it's been lacking a little bit as of recently, and that shows when a guy's tired. You know, it's hard to dig down deep, but that's what he has to do to be successful.
Eric Deblica's been working with Gasquet for a while now, and he too has had a few problems with his charge in terms of how physical the game has become. Gasquet often has the ability to beat the best in the world on any given day, but sometimes struggles to do it day in, day out throughout the course of a tournament, and certainly week in, week out throughout the course of the Grand Slams. And that's something that I'm sure his father has had a lot of chats with Eric Deblica about, the best way to develop his son physically and mentally, because it's important. You can't win majors unless you can win when you're playing poorly, and you can win when you're carrying the odd injury.
Yeah, and he certainly, we know how well he does when things are perfect, but when they're off a little bit, doesn't seem to respond that well. Did get to the semis of Wimbledon this year. Maybe could have got to the final.
So this one promises much. These two have been spectacular, really, throughout the course of the season. Djokovic has been the real story of the year, the way that he was able to beat the top 3 players in the world in Montreal, and the way he's been able to get his hands on 2 Waterford Crystal Masters Series Shields this year. Absolutely phenomenal season. But can he finish it on a high? In order to do so, he has to win this match.
Thank you.
Best of 3 tie-break sets. Djokovic won the toss, elected to serve.
Play. Go! 15 long.
Chase, one thing I think we're seeing from Djokovic at the end of the year, he's played so much tennis, you see him starting to wear down. He's having trouble ending points. He can hit so many good shots, but the fact he's not comfortable coming in that much really makes it that much more difficult for him at this stage. You know, everyone used to think he had a weak forehand compared to his backhand, but that's one part of his game that has really improved. I don't think you're going to get a lot of free points from that side anymore.
155 kilometers an hour. Certainly has the ability to flatten out his shots whenever he needs cheap points.
First shot.
Done. Now he does have the transition game. Doesn't have a problem coming in.
34.
And when you can hit backhands like this one, well, why not come in and end the point? Swinging volley, not a problem for Gasquet. That's what he's going to need to do a lot of today. Keep the pressure on Djokovic.
Early opportunity for the Frenchman. Initially, this court was relatively slow when it was first laid. A lot of the players were saying in their first few practice sessions they were finding it difficult to get any help from the court. But the players are suggesting that the court is speeding up a little bit as it gets a little worn out. And Djokovic was saying the other day, after the first round loss, that he was finding it difficult to control the ball, that they were relatively hard, travelling through the air quite quickly, and certainly coming off the racket at a great rate of knots. Nicely done. Might see a fair few drop shots given how deeply sometimes Gasquet plays behind his own baseline.
Well, if Djokovic is able to penetrate with his ground strokes, he will keep Gasquet far behind that baseline, and therefore the drop shot doesn't have to be great, because then you see someone like Gasquet just putting the ball back in the court. That's cannon fodder for Djokovic.
Again, Djokovic. First game.
Well, it's very important when you're not feeling particularly good physically to get off to a good start, because the last thing you want to be doing is playing catch-up.
Well, you look at that game, and even though it's just the first game of the match, Gasquet with a break point opportunity, not making the most of it. When you're playing someone who's considered to be one of the best players in the world, how many chances are you really going to get? You got to get them early on, particularly with Djokovic, who's fighting for confidence and the belief that he can win matches right now.
If memory serves, Ferrer was able to break Djokovic in the opening game of their match. Never looked back. It was one break that was sufficient to get the job done in both sets. Constructed the point beautifully.
15 long.
Beautiful shot. Well, you've got to get the ball deep or short and wide if you're going to go to the Gasquet backhand. You can't allow him time to get set up, because then he can explode into the shot. Absolutely beautiful. 145 kilometers an hour.
Ball too long. Gasquet.
Well, interestingly, there's been a couple of shots that Djokovic hasn't tried to chase down.
1-1.
Perhaps conserving a little bit of energy. Gasquet will be very pleased indeed with the quality of his serving in that opening game. Made all 4 first serves. Well, we know what a brilliant shot maker Gasquet is. And that delighted
Love 15.
his camp, because it was a pretty good approach shot. Took a bit of pace off it, created the angle, and was covering the line as he had to do. And from that far wide of the single sideline to make that shot's phenomenal.
Love 13. Love 14.
Obviously wanting to try and win the point as quickly as possible. The right move to go into the net, but the execution letting him down as it did on the opening day. Many of his shots, especially the backhand down the line, he really did struggle with that one too. And again, Gasquet now with chances to get the first break of serve. It's not easy watching when the person you're supporting isn't playing as well as you know they can. Too obvious, I'm afraid. Good footwork from Gasquet and the correct shot selection at the end of the rally.
The lead by 2 games to 1.
Means that he has indeed made the perfect start to this match.
Well, I like the way that Gasquet played that last game, but I don't really like that play from Djokovic, particularly down game point. Using a drop shot, to me, it's a lazy play.
Well, I think also it shows he's not that confident in being able to get the better of Gasquet in these protracted baseline rallies, which is what you would expect him to be throughout the course of the season. He's been so solid from the back. But remember on the opening day too, that backhand down the line wasn't working particularly well, made a lot of unforced errors with it. So I don't think he is as confident really as Gasquet is at the moment from playing from the back.
The backhand up the line's been his best shot all year. The other thing, I agree that those protracted exchanges, Gasquet, if he has the best of them, it's going to be very tough for Djokovic. But a drop shot at that point sometimes is a tired shot also. And it's almost like he doesn't even know how to win the points if the ball keeps coming back.
Time.
Unique stadium, this one, and all the players have said how much they enjoy playing in it. The crowd very enthusiastic. It's quite been full as yet, can hold 15,000 when it is, but we've had a good 7 or 8 in the house, and they've loved all that they've seen so far, especially yesterday's match between Fernando Gonzalez and Roger Federer, and the Chilean eventually prevailed for the first time in 11 meetings against the defending champion. They were going wild in that one.
15 love.
Talked about his improved forehand, also a much improved serve. That's where he was very vulnerable in a lot of big matches. The serve would let him down. A lovely volley. 13 of the last 14 points now come the way of the Frenchman. It's impressive. He's got all the tools. Look at the little slice. That's why that one-handed backhand is so good, particularly on a surface like this. When you keep the ball low, it doesn't come up, and it really moves. Well, if you're tired and you're struggling from the back of the court, you got to do something different. I think he's going to have to come in more today.
Game, Gasquet. Gasquet leads by 3-1.
Well, couldn't ask for anything more really than consolidating your position, having got the initial break of serve. So far Gasquet played some sublime tennis.
And we'd ask the question, how would he respond to that loss to Nadal? You can either take it in a bad way or in a good way, and he's taking it in a good way because he realized how well he played, and just because he lost the match isn't going to hurt him. That's why he's come out so well in this match.
Love the thing.
Jason, I'll tell you one thing that I've seen change in this game over the last couple months since the U.S. Open. Used to be working with Mark Woodford earlier in the year on volleying, transition game. Rarely are we seeing him trying to get to the net to end points. He's having opportunities, but he's electing to stay in the back. And when you're tired, that hurts you. It doesn't help you at all.
This would be an absolute nightmare if he were to go a double breakdown.
Thank you.
Better length, and that's a combination of shots that we've seen him use time and time again this year.
15-40.
And he needs them now more than ever. He's got to try and stop the bleeding.
Gasquet.
Well, again, Djokovic coming off second best in one of these long rallies from the back of the course. Gasquet has started the match very brightly indeed, and he now leads by a double break.
We weren't sure who was going to respond best between these two guys. Both of them coming off a loss is not an easy thing to do. But still, you sense with Djokovic that there's the lack of emotion, the lack of energy. He's fighting himself. And he just looks not right to me. A little bit fatigued, and certainly making, well, more unforced errors from the back of the court than his opponent, who seems to be hitting every right shot all the time. And that's a lot of confidence. Probably he's looking back at that match against Nadal, and rather than thinking poorly about it, he's thinking, you know what, I should have beat him. Now I'm going to go out and do better against Djokovic, and he's making the opportunities for himself.
Looks a little dejected, and understandably so. Hasn't brought his A game to the court as yet here in Shanghai, and he's paying the heavy price. Gasquet, though, has excelled in the first 5 games of this one, picking up where he left off really in his opening match against Nadal. Even though he didn't win it, he said afterwards that he felt he played a perfect opening set, and he felt he was starting to believe that he could challenge the world's best on a regular basis, and today he's proving that.
I'm starting to believe.
Well, that's more important.
What's interesting is their previous encounters, when he lost in 3 sets, he always lost the opening set to Djokovic. This is a much different situation.
Love of him. Novak Djokovic is coming the call at the left service line. The ball was thrown to him.
See what the official review system has to say. Just deep.
Love Tokyo.
Cool.
15-30. First shot.
It's important for Gasquet to make the most of this momentum that he's been able to create in this opening set.
Thank you.
Lovely shot. I think we need to see a little more of that. Perhaps he's understanding now he can't go through Gasquet today.
30-40.
Nice to see that he's applying plan B and perhaps thinking about
Please be quiet.
how to go around his
First
opponent.
second serve, please. Thank you.
Was the first chance for great serve in the match for Djokovic. Beautifully done. He really is showing a huge appetite for winning the big points by playing some really good all-court tennis. Won 5 of 6 points at the net so far, and he's coming in at very important times in this opening set. Nice to see him so confident in such an important area of his game.
Gasquet.
That is a speedy serve, 210 kilometers an hour. Used to be considered one of the weakest areas of his game. It's certainly changed this year. The second serve, though, still needs a little bit of additional work.
Two.
I think the slice backhand would have been the shot to play there. Would have been a slightly higher percentage. Underneath the ball, keep it nice and low. It's easier to hit an approach with that shot. You can move through the ball. Gasquet certainly has it in his armory.
Gasquet.
Very difficult shots to defend against when your opponent goes down the line and hits it as hard as Djokovic did then, because you've got some very such a little amount of time to actually chase the ball down. Look at the footwork, well inside the baseline. That's where he's been at his most effective for much of the season.
penalty to Djokovic.
Surprised he tried to go for so much on that forehand. You're playing against someone who really hasn't done very well when you come to the net, so you don't have to go for that much, give away a free point.
Break point.
Again, Djokovic.
A little sloppy in that game.
Gasquet leads by 4 games to 2.
Same thing that happened to him in his match with Nadal. He was sailing along beautifully, seemingly under control, and then out of nowhere, just a rash of unforced errors, just losing the balance.
So Djokovic's been thrown a lifeline in this opening set.
15 long.
He's going to be able to grasp it and make the most of it.
So it's long. So 15.
Well, we know how much talent he has. That ball way away from his forehand. He just takes a swing and is able to hit with amazing power and surprises Djokovic.
Nothing suggesting the ball broke. They just need to check it. If it did break, then they'll play a let.
Ball broken.
It did. So they'll have to play 2. It was obvious the
Ball
way the ball
broken.
reacted
We need to replay the
off
point.
Djokovic's racket.
So 15. Thank you. Please. Ball 15.
That's brilliant shots, and it seems that Djokovic has awoken from his slumber.
Gasquet leads by 4 games to 2.
8 of the last 10 points. And this first set now is a lot more competitive because of that. Well, of course, it's always important to try and get those breaks of serve, and in order to do so, you've got to have a clear game plan in mind when you're returning, and Gasquet obviously does. He likes to give himself plenty of time, a little bit like Nadal, actually, by standing a good 2 meters or so behind the baseline to return most of the serves. But occasionally, he will step up the court and take the ball on, either on or inside the baseline. So you have to, as a server, be careful. You've got to keep an eye out what's happening down the other end of the court, because he does like to vary his game.
Yeah, he's really a threat wherever he's standing. Djokovic, on the other hand, Well, he's standing in much closer than his opponent, particularly when he gets a look at a second serve. And that's really been the only flaw in the Gasquet serve to this point. First serve percentage has been nice and healthy. He's done very well when he's gotten it in, only lost 3 points. But the second serve, only winning 2 of 8. That's where he's got to be really careful.
Well, now for the first time in this match, Djokovic able to put Gasquet, hopefully, as far as he's concerned, under just a little more pressure. But Gasquet does have the advantage, serving with the new balls.
That's vintage Djokovic, taking that backhand, being able to go up the line. That's what we've seen him do throughout the year, and I think he does it better than anyone. I mean, this shot for most players almost impossible. At least he goes around the net post there. The balance, the footwork.
All. Coaching.
Time and time again, we've seen Gasquet successfully sneak into the net.
Well, that's a big point. 15-30 down on your own serve. You don't think this guy's going to come forward, and he does. He's now 7 of 8 on big points coming to the net.
It's got to keep an eye out, though, for the unforced errors. He's definitely trying to force the play, so you're expecting him to hit more winning shots, but he's got to keep an eye on his unforced error count, too. Well, it simply doesn't get any better than that.
Well, if Djokovic was tired before this point, he's definitely more tired now. Look at the running he does, and then there's the beautiful backhand. Rarely is Gasquet going to miss that opportunity. But Djokovic had chances to come in, elected to stay back. The point turns around on him.
Well, that was a very good game from the Frenchman. Both players having to work hard. This set now being played at a very high level by both players, but both working hard, and it looks like Djokovic still struggling a little bit physically, as we expected. Gasquet now just 4 points away from wrapping it up.
Well, I absolutely love the way the young Frenchman is playing, staying in there with the belief. Still, I see things from Djokovic. Those long points, chances to go forward, keep his opponent on the defensive. He lets him back in the point when he retreats to the baseline.
Game. Lot team.
I think Djokovic has had success doing against most opponents this year is when he elevates the pace. He's able to go through his opponents. The pace is not bothering Gasquet today.
He's not having a lot of luck with the forehand. Backhand, he's hitting better than he did in his opening match, but that ratio, not a good one on the opposing wing.
All.
This approach shot isn't great. Gasquet is in position, but he's still far behind the baseline. Tough to hit a passing shot. And you can see for someone as athletic as Djokovic, when he gets up there, it's not that easy to hit a passing shot.
Just did enough. Gasquet is 6 foot tall, not quite tall enough. This one back, didn't get a lot of air time there. Just lost his bearings a little bit. Nice feel from his opponent.
Again, Djokovic.
And it's been a spirited fight back in this opening set.
Gasquet leads by 1 game.
Djokovic still behind. It's Gasquet who leads 5 games to 4.
One thing that Djokovic has been known for throughout this year is spirit. He gets on the court, not only is he a great tennis player and shot maker, but he's got this positive energy that gets the crowd to respond to him. We're not seeing much of that lately. It's become very serious. You look at his face, he looks like he's constantly in a struggle out there.
Yeah, I think that was one of the real features of his play in the first 3 quarters of the season. The amount of pleasure it seemed he had when he was playing his matches. And I think the same can be said as far as Gasquet is concerned. When he's playing well, he seems to really enjoy it, smiles out there on the court. When he's not feeling particularly good, then he does really seem to be a lot of pressure out there on the match court. Certainly doesn't seem to enjoy himself. It's a real shame. So now it's all about concentration and belief. When you get to this stage in sets, there's no room for doubting yourself. When you're playing one of the world's best, you have to be able to stick to the game plan that's got you into this situation in the first place.
Time.
I think this is really a critical game for Gasquet because remember, he had 2 breaks of serve. Certainly, if he loses serve again, it's going to be hard for him to forget how he's let this set get away.
15 love.
So nice to be able to implement tactics when you've got the correct technique to do so. Backhand can be flattened out, but they're just adding a little bit of spin around the outside edge of the ball to create the angle. Superb shot.
Gasquet stop.
It did look to the naked eye as if it was deep, but it's an important challenge because obviously if it did catch a bit of the line, Gasquet will lose the point. If he didn't, he'll be 2 points away from winning the set. A very tight call. 10 millimeters or so out, but an excellent decision by the Frenchman. Not such a good one by that gentleman. Big point.
Nothing wrong with that shot by Gasquet, though. Even though it was short, it was a miss hit. This guy doesn't want to come in unless it's on his own terms.
Did look a little cumbersome moving up the court. Wry smile. Can't believe he could miss what he considers to be such a relatively simple shot at such an important juncture in the match. Set point.
Game first set. Gasquet.
No problems for Gasquet when under pressure, serving the set out. More disappointment for Djokovic. Really does have his work cut out here this afternoon because the Frenchman now just a set away from what would be a big victory.
Well, with the exception of a little lapse in that set when Gasquet had the lead, 2 breaks of serve, he played really flawless tennis, and if he can just keep that level up, I think all the pressure is going to revert to the shoulders of Djokovic. What is he going to do to win points? Because just trying to beat Gasquet from the back of the court is not working. He's going to have to make adjustments, and Gasquet really doing well with that first serve, really giving the serve a lot of trouble.
What we saw in his opening match in the first set, he served well and he won it. But you can see how he's struggling when he misses the first serve. He's only winning just over 35% of the points. And if he doesn't continue to get a lot of first serves in, especially on the big points, then perhaps Djokovic will have a chance to get back into the match.
And that's how he lost to Nadal. The serve started to let him down. Nadal got more and more confident and turned it around.
Time's running out for Djokovic, the 3rd seed. Has to win this match to stand a chance of qualifying for the semi-finals. And Gasquet has started the match in a rich vein of form.
7 sets.
Can he keep it up? That's the question. He couldn't in his opening match in this group against Rafael Nadal. And again, he was able to win the opening set in that match before losing 6-4 in the 3rd. Didn't quite serve as well in sets 2 and 3 as he did at the beginning of the match. And again, that's going to be a telling factor in deciding the outcome of this one.
Love 15.
Well, I'm interested to see how Djokovic responds here early on. He's got to change things around to get control back in this match. And then the other thing for Gasquet, has he learned a lesson about what happened in that match with Nadal? So he knows he's got to keep the level of the serve way up. These guys are so young, we forget that. Gasquet just 21, Djokovic 20. We look at them as veterans because we're seeing so much of them all the time.
Thursday 15.
It's more like a pinpoint accuracy on the ground strokes and setting the points up very well.
14-15.
Well, he truly can make things happen from that backhand side because he's able to go up the line so well and he can force you. So Gasquet's got to be careful.
And when he's playing well, it was a shot that cost him a lot of points in his opening match with David Ferrer. Beautifully done. Needs to build on that start.
First game, second set.
Because he's still got a mountain to climb.
Well, Djokovic can really penetrate with his backhand. But when you talk about backhands, you think about the Gasquet backhand and the variation. You see the topspin, it's the yellow ball bounces really high, but the red ball, the slice, stays so low. So when you have both of those together, creates all kinds of trouble for the opponent. He's got to read it off the racket face, but you can see on this court the slider works very, very well.
Love 15.
Now we talked about second serve problems for Gasquet. They started to hurt him in that first set, and he's got to be careful.
Love 13.
Did that alone in the opening set. Again, that's a very important point. So choosing the right moment to move to the net.
Social.
And it's shots like that that really do hurt your confidence. Shots that he would never normally miss, and certainly hasn't missed for much of this season. He's finding it hard to fathom.
Maybe that's why he doesn't come to the net too much. Didn't even know where to stand on that particular shot. This overhead, typically he'd put it away. He doesn't. Gasquet guesses right, but wrong position. Yeah, he makes a good play here. The ball's high, but still you would think someone adept a little bit at the net would be able to handle that volley.
Gasquet really seems to be enjoying his time out there, which is great to see. And that's one of the reasons, obviously, he's playing so well. It's just a joy for him to be here in amongst the best players in the world.
Take a seat, please. Thank you.
Well, it's in sharp contrast to what Djokovic is going through.
It does appear to be quite painful for him out there at the moment.
Okay, now.
A little bit of a hold up while fans take their seats.
But the approach is up the middle of the court to Gasquet's backhand. I mean, I like the fact Djokovic is coming forward, but you've got to come in on the right shots. Look at where Gasquet is there. That's bread and butter for him.
But he has passed well in defense of Djokovic off both wings so far in the match. I guess then you've got to vary things a little bit.
And the other problem for Djokovic coming in, he comes in with the top spin or the flat backhand instead of the slice that stays nice and low. Ball just sits up and
sensible attempt at a passing shot from Gasquet. He knows that Djokovic isn't that confident at the net. He's simply making him play now.
Perfect. One thing you can do against a guy who's not a good volleyer is make him hit volleys.
He's running out of ideas. He is trying to come into the net more often than he did at the beginning of the match, but he's not having a lot of success. Only 5 of 13. Posting numbers like that won't get the job done at this level.
That is a thing of beauty. First, it's a topspin forehand that allows him to get back in the court, and then the backhand from virtually anywhere. He rolls over the ball, create anything he wants.
And that's why you don't defend up the line when you're under pressure, because it does allow your opponent to play a high percentage play into the open court. 3 break points for the Frenchman.
Left for service.
Better. Lovely feel.
15-4.
He needs to start smiling like that again.
It's not going to happen unless he can play that particular shot a lot more often. Well, continues to really struggle, especially on serve.
2 games to 1.
Gasquet now has won 8 of the last 9 points, and the Frenchman is sitting pretty.
They love their tennis here in Shanghai. And you have, I tell you what, you have as many females coming out as you do males, and they're all ages, so young. Loving watching themselves up on the big screen, everybody getting their, well, 5 seconds of fame.
No, I think they're so enthusiastic about the game. That's what the players have said. Nadal was referring to that the other day when he said, you know, whoever he meets here in China, so enthusiastic about tennis in general that it's a real joy to play in front of a crowd like that. Everyone's having fun apart from Novak Djokovic. They're enjoying the tennis that they've seen so far here in Shanghai, particularly this afternoon. Gasquet has played very intelligently. The question is now, is he going to maintain his concentration? Sometimes that does let him down. And is he going to be able to continue to play as well as he has done so far in this match?
I think he's going to keep it up. I think he's going to learn a lesson from that match against Nadal that was going sort of similar to this. The only difference is he's got the break in this second set. He didn't have that against Nadal.
Of course, the other important thing is that every set counts in the round robin. So it's important for Gasquet, if he's going to win this match, to do so in straight sets.
Absolutely, and that's also a good thing, or something not so bad about losing to Nadal, the fact that he was able at least to take a set. That'll matter when they count it all up at the end. Well, is his backhand the better shot?
Supposedly. He's even on the back foot there. That's how confident he's feeling about his game at the moment. Not only did it have topspin, but pace too. And the angle was too much for Djokovic to handle.
So 15.
It was touch and go, and he knew it.
40-15.
Well, you just hope that he doesn't go away here, because you know he's very frustrated. And remember what happened to him in Paris.
Left. First.
That's a good volley because he kept going forward. He used a nice slice backhand approach. Just not very enthusiastic, though, even after a good point like that. And here's the slider. He comes in, ball stays low, and then he reads the pass, keeps the body moving forward, so he hits that ball while it's above the height of the net.
Left. Service.
Beautiful shot. Both players have used the angles to good effect so far.
Well, what I like about this play from Djokovic is he doesn't try to hit the ball too hard. He just uses the angle, the off forehand, lots of topspin, lots of safety, and that surprises Gasquet. Well, he had 45 this game. It looked like he was cruising for a 6-4, 3-1 lead, but no.
Got their fingers crossed as well as their arms.
Toes.
To see just how important that particular service game is in determining the outcome of this match, but it's afforded Djokovic a chance to get right back into this second set now, and could prove very costly for Gasquet, who held that 40-15 advantage, and he'll be kicking himself. Still complaining about the fact that he feels the serve wasn't a let.
Everybody heard. The line umpire, Djokovic, I heard that. Everybody.
Oh, Carlos Bernardis speaking up. We'll have none of that. Well, Djokovic has to stay positive. I mean, he exuded some great body language at the end of that last game. So Gasquet gets a little bit lucky here, but you know what? Forget about it. Don't show him anything. Just start digging down deep inside like he did in the previous game.
He's had his fair share of luck this season.
you're going to come in, I don't think you should come in on the backhand while he's on the move. Just don't like it, particularly when you're not sliding the ball.
And Djokovic doesn't really possess the slice backhand as an approach shot, so really he does have limited options in terms of what type of approach he's going to hit. So therefore his only option becomes where to hit the approach. Do you go up the middle, give Gasquet a few angles to play with, or do you come in on the forehand? But he has been hitting that shot well too. It's a tough call.
Oh, there goes the racket. First it was a bad forehand, then it was a pretty serious racket toss. Marian Vida obviously very concerned.
Yeah, I think for him the biggest disappointment will be that Djokovic isn't going to be ending the season on a high if he can't get out of this group. Given all that he's been able to achieve before this tournament, that will be a little bit of a shame, but can't have everything. 3 break points for Gasquet.
15-14.
A lovely backhand from Gasquet. Took all the pace off it, made life very difficult for Djokovic. Got very tight to the net and didn't really have the necessary feel to be able to pull off what in the end was a relatively tough shot. So Gasquet back into the lead.
Really like the way Gasquet's playing, particularly when he's on the defense. When you're playing against someone who possesses great ground strokes, but not the best of volleys and not a natural volleyer, then what you have to be able to do is make sure at least you make the person have to play the volley. You see too many times guys trying to go for big shots when they shouldn't, when they should just be trying to expose the weakness. You saw Djokovic coming in. It was a tough shot. There was no pace on it. But you see that he had pretty much rock hands on that ball. Didn't open up the racket face. Didn't have the right technique.
A good response from Gasquet, because having lost his serve in the previous game, might have got a little down about things. He was complaining about the net call, but hit back strongly.
45 up. It's a hard game to forget about.
Time.
Well, having fought his way back into the set once, he's got to do it again now. Gasquet just a handful of games away from recording his first victory in the gold group. Remember, it's the first time that either of these players have qualified for the year-end championships. So Gasquet again holding the upper hand.
Good long.
There's too many of those today. Just hasn't got the necessary feel. It's just left him a little bit. Can't fault his effort today. Just not playing as well as he would want. Simple as that.
30-15.
Well, he's got to try and get his first serve in on these big points, because otherwise it's been a real struggle for him. He's not even winning 1 in 4 at the moment, whereas in this match he's winning almost 81% of the points when the first serve goes in, so it is a huge difference. Oh, brilliant. Again, constructed the point very well indeed. And crucially, once he got to the net, he continued to move forwards. So much easier to cut off opponents' passing shots if that's what you're able to do.
What I love about Gasquet today, on so many of the crucial points, he's finding a way to get to the net. He's won well of 14 from up there. So he's found a great game plan under pressure. Something that Djokovic hasn't been able to do.
Just got to get the balance right now. Yes, he's got to be aggressive. Yes, he's got to continue to try and implement his own game plan and take the game to his opponent. But he cannot afford to give away cheap points, especially on the big points.
Against Nadal, Gasquet actually served and volleyed on a couple of big points to surprise Nadal. Wouldn't mind seeing him do that now. Giving away some free points now, Gasquet at 30 love in this game. Couple game points. Not able to put second balls in the court. That's pretty good. Better than that forehand that he missed. And that is the first point in this set that Gasquet has been able to win when he's had to hit a second serve.
1 of 10. So Djokovic has done well when given the opportunity to step up the court and attack with a slightly weaker Gasquet serves. Did well there, had to work hard, got himself in a spot of bother, but in the end, managing to hold. 2 games away now from what would be the first time that he'd been able to beat Djokovic on the match court.
Oh, this side, no, the other side, yeah. Serve them, yeah. Love 15. Love 13.
Gasquet's backhand has been brilliant throughout this encounter, continues to be.
Love 14.
Well, this is virtually it for Djokovic. He's fallen off badly. He's able to get back in the set, but then his serve has let him down, as well as so many unforced errors. Already 23 in the match.
Gasquet.
It's been another difficult match for Djokovic.
Gasquet leads by 5 games.
Certainly can't fault his effort, but Gasquet has been better really in the vast majority of the match. 5-2.
Well, with the exception of a few too many second serves, it's been a great match for Gasquet, but for Djokovic, as much as he's tried, and there's no doubt he's trying very hard, he's just having trouble mustering up the kind of energy, the kind of play we've seen from him throughout the majority of the year. And it's become a real struggle.
Yeah, I think he'll be just really disappointed, but the season's just been a month too long for him. All that he achieved before going to Bercy was phenomenal. There's no question about it. Whereas Gasquet has been able to finish the year on a strong note. Played some good matches here already. Now he's just got to maintain his concentration and put this one to bed.
Well, as bad as Bercy was for Djokovic, it had a total opposite effect on Gasquet. Came out of nowhere virtually to get himself into this event.
It's been a very entertaining match, full of good things, the majority of which have come from the racket of the Frenchman. And now just a decent service game away from his first ever victory over the world number 3.
He's going to challenge that backhand volley, but I think he's going to be disappointed because probably was just wide or above that vantage point.
A shot that he should have made, really. Better approach because he hit it with slice. The ball stayed a little lower. It's tougher to get underneath it.
So it shows that he can play that shot.
It's not as natural as the double-hander is, but nice to see that he's thought about the options available to him.
Yeah, that was a freebie because Gasquet has only won 3 of 13 points in this set. when Djokovic has got to look at the second serve. You just can't be giving points away, particularly when you're close to falling out of a match.
It's a lovely shot. It's not an easy one to play. Again, balance was slightly off, but still able to maintain control over the ball. Well, he has had success taking that second serve nice and early, but that's been the only area of the game, really, in which he has bettered Gasquet. The Frenchman, after an hour and 23 minutes, now with an opportunity to record his first victory here in the gold group. He's missed it. Delight for the Frenchman. He's played 2 good matches so far here. And nice, but Djokovic so gracious in defeat. It was another difficult match for the world number 3. But Gasquet, you have to say, on the balance of play, did deserve his victory. Some of the shot making was absolutely outstanding off both the backhand and the forehand, and some of the play at the net was superb. So Gasquet wins in 2 sets, 6-4, 6-2.
Oh, what a nice young guy. You heard him say to Djokovic at the net, you get some rest now. You played 100 matches this year. You know, obviously he tried, but he's just physically and mentally not quite the same as we saw him a few months ago.
I think what you've got to do in situations like that is obviously try and make the most of the situation, but it's easier said than done. Gasquet really did concentrate hard on what he needed to do from the very first game of the match, and he executed his game plan really well.
Yeah, well, we know he's a great shot maker, and he can pretty much play all phases of the game very well, but he served exceptionally well in the first set. That kept the pressure on Djokovic right away, and he got off to the nice lead. And then we know how great his backhand is, but how good was his forehand today? And then on so many crucial points, coming into the net, winning 12 of 15, not losing a point at the net in the second set. He just kept the pressure on Djokovic the whole time. And by the end, Djokovic just didn't have anything left. He was spent.
So Gasquet gives himself an opportunity to perhaps move through to the semi-finals. Much will depend on how he does in his third and final match in the gold group. Ferrer was a winner in straight sets. He sits atop of the gold group, and he'll take on Rafael Nadal in the second match of this afternoon's session. But Richie Gasquet's given himself a fighting chance of qualifying for the semi-finals as well, whereas Novak Djokovic is in trouble at the bottom of the group. So it was a good win for Gasquet, and and the players will take to the courts around 7:30 local time, and it should be a fascinating encounter. Nadal against Ferrer, an all-Spanish affair. Never easy when you're playing against somebody from the same country. And Ferrer has very little to lose in that group. Very few expected him to come through, and having notched up a win in the first match of the tournament, as far as he's concerned, he will be quietly confident, I'm sure, of perhaps being in contention come the weekend.